Tonight, more controversy for the embattled president of the state's Public Utilities Commission. He was asked by a state Senate committee to respond to a growing controversy surrounding his agency. But instead of answering tough questions in Sacramento, he opted for a visit to the wine country and a conference and reception at an exclusive resort in Napa. Our chief investigative reporter, Tony Kovaleski, joins us with a hidden camera investigation. And Tony, the issue here really is about priorities.
Priorities, exactly, Jessica. His choice, the hot seat in Sacramento and a series of those tough questions, or a conference in Napa hosted by a nonprofit that receives a bunch of money from the utilities you pay him to regulate. Now you ask the question, was it the right decision?
Why are you bugging me?
You were asked to speak to senators,
slow
sir.
down.
That's the president of the state's Public Utilities Commission, Michael Peavy. You were supposed to speak to senators today about the safety of your PUC. Instead, you spent your day here in Napa.
No, that's not true.
But as you will see in a bit, that's not what our hidden cameras found. Let's begin with where Michael Peavy was asked to sit. He was asked to sit in this chair inside room 2040 of the state capitol, a Senate hearing responding to the growing conflict over this controversial and confidential report, a survey of PUC employees raising questions about the regulatory agency's commitment to safety and claims of cozy relationships with California utilities.
The governor needs to replace the president of the Public Utilities Commission. The current president has been there for many years, used to work for the utilities. He has had a very cozy relationship with the utilities, which this report indicates.
After calling for his job 2 weeks ago, San Bruno Senator Jerry Hill made the request to Michael Peavy. In this letter, he wrote, "For all the shortcomings under your leadership at the CPUC over the last 10 years, it is critical that you testify." But instead of addressing the conflict at the Capitol, last Thursday, Michael Peavy spent the day 62 miles west of Sacramento, driving into the exclusive Silverado Resort and Spa in the heart of Napa. According to the agenda, he was scheduled to give a 5 to 7 minute presentation at the California Foundation on the Environment and the Economy, an energy conference titled Transitioning to a Clean Energy Future. Before the conference started, at a time he was expected in Sacramento, our hidden cameras spotted Michael Peavy mingling with guests in the conference center. The day officially started with a lunch at noon, this seat on the patio taking priority over the empty chair at the Capitol. Invited guests included several top-level private sector executives, a representative from PG&E, a utility Peavy regulates, and in the somewhat ironic category, more than 24 Sacramento lawmakers also attended the conference. At 1:30, a full 2.5 hours after he was scheduled to speak in Sacramento, Mr. Peavy gave his presentation at the conference. And after 4 hours of conference sessions, it was time to board luxury buses for a 30-minute drive through Napa Valley, and the next agenda item, a reception and dinner, a private event at the exclusive Maryville Winery in northern Napa Valley.
Our cask room can entertain up to 110 guests for corporate events.
For 3 hours, Mr. Peavy ended his day in Napa inside the winery, along with more than 100 guests.
Mr. Peavy? Yes, sir.
Tony Kovaleski with NBC Bay Area. You have a moment? Following the dinner and reception, we met Mr. Peavy outside the winery. What's the message you sent by coming here to Napa instead of going to speak to the Senate?
You're very antagonistic, you know, and you're reading a script.
Sir, I'm not reading a script.
Yes,
I want to know.
you are.
I want to give you an opportunity to respond.
Well, but your questions are wrong questions.
We also asked the president of the PUC questions he would likely have faced in Sacramento in the shadow of that confidential internal report. That report said your agency is too cozy with the utilities. Is that true?
No, that's not true. That is absolutely.
Why would you?
No, stop. There's one person that said that. That's not what the report said. There was no conclusion in the report. It was an interview with various individual employees of the Public Utilities Commission.
You've been asked by lawmakers to step down. Lawmakers have said you should be fired. Should you be fired, sir?
No,
will you step down?
They don't have the authority.
You poor son of a bitch. You got a job to do,
sir,
and it's pathetic that what you're doing.
Sir, shouldn't you answer to lawmakers when they want to talk to you? What's the message you sent tonight by coming here?
Good night.
Do you want to explain to us?
Good night.
It's important to know before that day in Napa, we did ask to speak with Mr. Peavy. Our request was denied. This is apparently not the first time Mr. Peavy has snubbed lawmakers for an all-expense-paid event. Back in 2011, he was asked to speak to an assembly committee. Instead, reports indicate he accepted a free trip to Sweden, funded by the Swedish government and the Energy Coalition. And finally, when asked last week if he still has confidence in Mr. Peavy, Governor Brown said he is flawed like everyone else, but has a lot of knowledge and a great commitment. We will stay on this. Jess?